Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia. I'm coming to you from Hertfordshire, just north of London, UK. And I'm so happy you're joining me today to talk about some knitting. Today is Sunday, it is the 13th of February 2022. And yeah, once again, I have decided to podcast rather spontaneously. I got everything ready, got my coffee, got everything, and then had the biggest sneezing fit. I don't know what happened. I think I sniffed too much wool before even starting the podcast. So sorry about any sniffliness on this episode, but I'm just happy to have found some time to record, and I'm just gonna talk to you about some finished objects, some stuff I'm knitting on at the moment, and possibly some live ramblings towards the end. We'll just see how we go. I'm having coffee, of course, because what else would I be having? I don't know what's happening to my voice either. You guys, it's been a long week. It's been a long month. It's been a long year. I mean, it's been ridiculous. Let's just leave it at that. And shall we talk about some knitting? Okay. So I've gathered a few finished objects. Some of them you've seen before, some are things I've just cranked out over the Christmas period. So let's just dig right in. Actually, there are two things I wanted to mention before we go into finished objects. First up, what am I wearing today? I am wearing my Ernest cardigan, which is a pattern by Joji Locatelli. I knit this maybe 2 or 3 years ago from yarn that I picked up in Oslo. We went to the Oslo Strikker Festival in 2019. Was it? I think it was. This is Hillesvåg Sølje, I think, which I picked up not at the festival but at Husfliden, which is a store in Oslo. Anyways, this is probably one of my top 3 most worn sweaters or cardigans I have ever knit. In fact, I wear it so much I think my husband kind of hates it. But I do really like it. It's just such a comfortable cardigan, and the yarn, it is quite prickly, I will be honest. I love myself some good prickly woolly yarn, but this is definitely sort of, I think, on the pricklier side, even for me. Having said that, it's also really, really warm, and it just wears really well. Like, again, I've been wearing this tons and tons and tons and tons, and it just keeps looking nice. It kind of fluffs up a tiny bit, and yeah, again, I think I wear this every week at some point, and yeah, absolutely love it. The second thing I wanted to mention very quickly is I am recording on a new phone with a new camera. I want to say I played around with the settings, but that would be sort of an overstatement, because honestly I just took 3 minutes, tried some different settings and figured, okay, this should work. So let's see if it does work, and if not, I will improve it until I record again at some point. Alright, so let's actually talk about some finished objects now. Where should we start? Let's start with the most exciting project, I think, which I should be wearing but I'm not. I literally just pulled this off the blocking mats. The ends have been mostly woven in but not snipped, so excuse the ends hanging off. It is slightly damp, which is why I'm not wearing it, but I have finished my Christmas sweater. So this is the Festive Yoke by Ellie, who is Dr. Skandia. I'm sure you all know of her because I keep talking about her all the time. So she came out with this Christmas sweater pattern, which I think is sort of like a knit along at the moment, and then she will publish it as a sort of, I don't want to say proper design, because it is done, it is finished, it is perfect, but it will be a design with proper pattern photos and stuff, I think towards the end of this year. Anyways, I think I cast on the day that she released it, before Christmas, and then after Christmas I had a bit of a dip, and I was like, should I finish it or should I just kind of leave it to languish and then finish towards Christmas 2022? But I'm really happy I persevered, so I have finished the body obviously, and then I think the last month or so I've just made myself work on the sleeves, and honestly I did not love working on these sleeves, which is not the pattern's fault, not the yarn's fault. It is just color work, and like a lot of color work, and then doing it all over on the sleeves. I didn't love it, but I got through it. I knit the most ridiculous long ribbed cuffs because I love a long ribbed cuff. I just really love it. And I love how it turned out. Yeah, the yarn that I used for this is actually some pretty affordable yarn I had in my stash. This is Hobby in their Highland wool, and Hobby is spelled with a double B and a double I. And in case it needs mentioning, I'm not sponsored by anything or anyone. This is yarn that I've bought myself, and I just talk about it. I picked some of the, I think I started off the sweater with Ellie's chart, but then she also gives you sort of different options to use different motifs depending on what you want on your sweater. So I've just picked like random bits that I really liked. My husband picked the presents because he thought they were cute. And yeah, I really like how it turned out. I was actually surprised by how much I liked the yarn. It worked out really well for Colorwork, and after washing and blocking, it's gotten very even, very soft. So it's definitely, it is still a woolly yarn, but again, this is much sort of rounder and softer and easier to wear compared to this. So my festive yoke is done. I'm very excited about it. I will try to take some photos of me wearing it at some point and show them over on Instagram and Ravelry most likely. And yeah, that is my festive yoke. Next up, I have another finished object, but this one hasn't been blocked yet. This is my Inclinations wrap by Andrea Mowry, who is Drea Renee and Knits. I think I was also knitting on this on my last podcast. I cast this on in November, but honestly, it just kind of was on the back burner for a long time. So I think this barely ever entered my living room, which is where I spend most of my knitting time, just like at night when we're watching movies. This just kind of camped out here in my craft room / our front room, and I only ever worked on it like a row or two at a time. But eventually it did get finished. So what I did, I think the original is knit with like fancy schmancy color changing spin cycle yarn, which I cannot afford. And also I don't want to spend that money on a shawl. So what I did is I used some leftovers. All of these colors are Terrarium Naturel in their Ulysse base, which is like a sport to decay weight. I think they call it sport. I would say I usually knit it as like a decay weight. So I used their, I think, Poivre Isel colorway, which is this sort of oatmeal-y, browny, gray, beige color throughout. And I striped it with different colors that I just had one ball of. So this is an entirely stash and leftover project, which I love. The ends have been woven in again. I just need to block it and then I will snip them off. And I plan to block this quite aggressively because it is very stretchy, and I think I'll just stretch it out a bit more and it'll be like a nice blanket shawl to wear possibly more next winter. But yeah, I'm glad it is done. It is half fisherman's rib, which I thought was very, very fun to knit actually. And if I had more time, I think I would just knit this sort of pattern all over again, because you can fade it. I've seen some amazing faded version where people just held 2 strands of sock yarn together. You can use any leftovers really. I think you could use a lot of different yarns and get different effects on this shawl. And it's very simple, so it's just fun to knit. And yeah, I quite enjoyed it. In terms of finished objects, excuse me reaching down, I also very quickly just wanted to show you a couple of hats. So I kind of went through a 1x1 ribbed hat phase before Christmas. So I knit a tiny version of this for my nephew, who is about 8 months now. To be fair, I kind of knitted too small, so it fits him now, but I should really knit him another one for his birthday. I can't even remember. I just did a couple of gift hats, and then over Christmas when we went to Germany, I just took a couple of balls of yarn, and I've been knitting through my stash of drops yarn. I am not a huge fan of drops in terms of their habit of stealing patterns. I will just say that, which is why I don't try to advertise for them. And I just have like a bag of balls of drops yarn that I've had years and years. So I've been working through a lot of them. You may remember last year I knit myself a striped flax light out of it. I knit my turtle dove, which I think I was working on last time I recorded, and unfortunately I didn't bring it with me today. But yeah, so I've just been trying to work through those balls of yarn, and over Christmas I knit this hat. I just held 2 balls of Drops Floret double, and these are literally just tubes of ribbing, and I think on my Ravelry I have written how many stitches I cast on. I can't remember. But yeah, you just fold it up and it's an easy hat, and this one actually fits me sort of like a beanie, but it also fits my son, which is good. The kid, because he likes throwing his hat into like muddy puddles, and then he needs to wear my hat. And then I also made this one. I remember I made this over New Year's Eve, and for this I held the same yarn, triple actually, so I used 3 different colors, and so this was even quicker. And again, you can fold it down or you can fold it up, and this one is more actually his size. And yeah, I really like these. I think they're just such great everyday hats, and I will probably make some more in the future because you can just use up any kind of yarn and it's simple, and I actually don't mind knitting rib. So I know some people really hate it, but I don't, and I like the effect. So there you go. My last finished object actually is a Colorwork sock, which I don't think I've shown you. And I really should have blocked these. I really should have put them on fancy schmancy sock blockers. I have done neither of those things. But these are the Goy socks. Spelling is Goy. By Ducati, who is a German knitting designer, I believe. I know she's definitely German speaking. So you may remember she did like the Power Flower sock club, I think 2 years ago. And so she just publishes a lot of Colorwork socks and a couple of collections, and I saw this one, I really liked it. So I cast on using some, again, this is all stash yarn. I've been knitting from stash for a while now. This is Lang Yarn's Jawohl sock in 3 different colors. Don't ask me which ones, I have no idea, I'm really sorry. But I do like the Lang Yarn Jawohl sock because it comes in 50-gram balls in like a million different colors, and I find it to be quite good for colorwork considering it is a superwash sock yarn. And this was really fun. The pattern is very repetitive, so I could actually knit this without looking at the chart. And then a really cool feature is that you get this sort of heel turn, and there's a heart on the bottom, which I think is really cute. Although I will be honest, I did not get the instructions for turning or like picking up the stitches in pattern after the heel. Like, I could do it, I figured it out, but the way it was described in the pattern did not make sense to me. I read both the English and the German pattern, and I tend to think I'm usually quite good at reading patterns. Like, I've been knitting a lot, but whatever was meant to be happening, I just did not get it. But I worked it out in the end, just fudged it a little bit, and these socks are done. Like I said, I should block them. I usually don't block my socks, but these ones would definitely profit from it. But yeah, I'm really happy with them. They fit really well. I think it is a 72 stitch count, and I used 2.5mm needles. But obviously that varies depending on your foot size and also just your colorwork gauge, which colorwork just isn't as stretchy, so you need to be more careful with the needle size and stitch count you choose. But yeah, those are my Goy socks, and those are my last pair of socks and finished objects for this episode. So, shall we talk about some projects that I'm actually working on? So, I went through a phase of casting a lot of things on, and then recently I finished quite a couple of things, which makes me much happier. So, like I said, I just finished my Christmas sweater. I also just finished the Inclination wraps, which was on the needles for 3 to 4 months. Yeah, I just needed to sort of get a fresh start. Have some new projects, and I'm really happy with how that's going. So of all the projects that I casted on a whim, I think the biggest whim was this hat. I cast this on because we were going to watch the new James Bond movie, but it's not even new anymore. We just hadn't seen it, and we decided to rent it on, I think, Amazon Prime. Spoiler alert, I hated the movie, and I love James Bond. But I just wanted simple knitting, and I also wanted to knit more of my Holz garn. So I decided to finally cast on a hat that I've been wanting to knit for ages and ages and ages, and that's the Musselburgh hat by Isolde Teague. And essentially it is a sort of tube hat where you start at the top, do increases, and the pattern is really genius because you don't need to swatch. You can use different weights of yarn, and just eventually you just measure your gauge as you're knitting, and then depending on your gauge, she will give you the correct numbers for how many stitches you need to have. So it's a really sweet method of knitting a hat, and I think even for future hats that I just want like a single hat, so you don't knit the whole tube, but just like a top-down hat essentially, I might just keep using that pattern because it's just genius to cast on and then figure out how many stitches you need to increase to later on. Anyways, my idea is, because it is a tube and you basically fold it into itself, you can make a reversible hat. So I'm using one color to knit down, and then I'm going to choose a different color to knit back the other way, and then I can wear it either way and have basically two hats to match whatever I'm wearing. So I am using Holz garn, like I said. I'm holding it single, and I'm basically using sock needles. I think these are 2.5 millimeter Chagu needles, which means that this is a very slow going hat. But I just wanted to knit this yarn on like it's not even a dense gauge, but a dense-ish gauge, I guess. This colorway, my label said Peapod, but I think they've changed it to Sweet Pea. So I think I just bought this specific lot of Holz garn like many years ago. So I'm pretty sure this is their Sweet Pea colorway, although don't quote me on that. And it's really beautiful. It's just really like heathered. I'm not sure if it's gonna show up, but I really like it. Obviously this is a very simple project, so I just knit round and round and round, and I think I have like 2 more inches to go, and then I'm gonna choose my second color, and yeah, knit the other half essentially. Originally I chose to have the other half like this really nice bright mustard yellow. Right now I don't know if I want to keep going with that. I mean, it just feels weird pairing it with this blush pink, but then you're only going to see one side, so it doesn't matter. But I might change my mind and do a different color because I already have a yellow hat. I don't know, I'll just see. I have this bag of yarn, and I'll explain about this later. But I just have a lot of like single balls, so I can just, you know, pick any of like the single balls of Holz garn and yeah, mix and match. And I have a feeling if I like this, I might make more of these, possibly even either with thicker yarn, or I can just hold yarn together. I mean, you can do a ton of stuff. You can marry different colors together, you can do like fades or stripes or whatever. I think the possibilities are really endless with this pattern. So yeah, let's see. But that's what I'm knitting on. I also cast on a bunch of socks. You said last week that you wanted to see socks, so here you go, you can see some socks. I actually just cast these on yesterday or the day before. These are going to be socks for my husband. I just did like a plain 2x2 rib, and now I'm just doing stockinette socks in this really fun self-strapping colorway. And this is yarn that I was gifted for Christmas from my lovely knitting friend Marion, I think last year or the year before. This is yarn from Nicole C. Mendez, and this is her Grello colorway, which I loved so much ever since I saw it. And I remember when I got this as a skein, as a gift, my husband already really liked it, and I think it is so cool, but I also think it really suits him, so he's gonna get some socks. So yeah, I'm just doing plain vanilla socks, and yeah, I hope he likes them, but I'm pretty sure he will. I also cast on more socks because, so I mentioned I'm kind of knitting from stash. I just have so much stash, and we may or may not be moving again, and I just want to stash down a bit. So what I've done is I've destashed a few things. I think I've destashed like 800 grams of sock yarn so far, and I have some more stuff that I want to destash. I also went through my commercial sock yarn because I do really like just having like commercial socks on the go where you don't have to wind the yarn, especially with like a toddler. I don't have time to wind yarn, and if I have time, I want to knit and not be winding. So I like the idea of having balls of commercial yarns just to cast on whenever and then just knit on them, and I also want to just, get them out of stash. So when sorting out what I want to destash, I also sorted out, I think, like 8 balls of sock yarn that I just want to knit up in the sort of next few months, I guess. So I've kept that yarn aside, I've put it in a bag, and I think every time I just want to cast on some socks without thinking about it, I'm just gonna, go to the bag, pick one of the colors that's in there, and knit. So the first ball I cast on was this yarn, which I think is actually really, really pretty. I remember I bought this on our honeymoon, so that was 3 years ago. Yeah, we got married 3 years ago. How crazy is that? This is a German sock yarn. This is Lana Grosser Meilenweit in their soy base or soya base. So it is vegetable polyamide and viscose / soy. And I even remember, I just really like these colors. And so I cast on a sock. Again, I'm doing plain vanilla socks. These ones are going to be for me. So I've knit down the leg of the sock. I have done my heel. In case you're wondering, I know I used to forever and ever knit the fish lips kiss heel, but I have changed my heel knitting. I now, as a standard heel, I always do the shadow wrap heel, which is quite similar, but just a bit simpler, I think. And Denise of Earth Tones Girl, I think she's the one who kind of brought that to the attention of lots of people. And she has, I think she has a paid for pattern for it, and she also has YouTube videos. So it's really easy to learn, especially if you have done the fish lips kiss heel before, because it is kind of similar stitches. And I just find this heel goes so quickly. It fits me exactly the same as the fish lips kiss. It's just like one less step to think about. I also don't need a stitch marker for this one, so this is the sort of standard heel I've been doing since, I don't know, the end of last year, I think. Anyways, so that is another sock that I'm knitting. I actually took this yesterday on the train because we went to Cambridge, and yeah, I'm really enjoying just zooming along on some socks. So yeah, that's been all of my sock knitting. The last work in progress that I have to show you guys is a garment. And again, I am using up stash. I've just been all about using my stash because I just have so much, although it has definitely shrunk a little bit. And also, I think my taste is just changed eventually. So I've been trying to get some stuff out of stash, and then my idea is if I have a bit less, I do like having a stash, but if I have a bit less, then if I really want to buy new yarn for a specific project, I can do that without feeling guilty about it. So for this project, I'm again using some old Holst yarn. I've just been going through my Holst yarn because I do really like it. And this is the colorway Nougat. And I'm holding it together with some more stashed mohair. This is undyed mohair by a German company called Hansafarm. I think they used to be called something different. I don't really know anymore. But I bought this ages ago, and this was their only colorway that didn't come in balls but in skeins. And you guys, this was a nightmare because I had to wind it, which was fine. I mean, it's like a million meters, but it was fine. But then my center pole balls just kept falling apart. And also, my toddler loves playing with mohair. So I have both of the balls that I originally wound up. I think there were 50-gram skeins to start with. I have had to rewind so many times. It's been so annoying. So I've sworn to myself I'm not gonna buy hanks of mohair anymore. And I know, most of this is my fault. It is not the fault of people who sell mohair in skeins. But just for practicality reason, and because I don't really buy hand-dyed mohair anyways, I think I never have. I'm just gonna buy mohair that comes in balls and then be done with it. That aside, I am really excited about the garment that I'm making, and it is yet another petite knits design. I feel like I'm knitting from the same designers all over again. Like all I seem to be knitting is petite knits, Andrea Mowry, Scandia, and Tinka knits. I feel like I knit nothing else, which is really boring, and I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm having a petite knits moment, and ever since she did increase her size range, I think I feel a lot better knitting from her designs. So there we go. Also, I feel like a lot of her designs are quite timeless, and they go with a lot of different gauges that I can get with yarn that I have in stash. So it just works out. So I am knitting the Sunday sweater. I always want to say the September sweater because I also want to knit that, and that is another design by her using brioche. But this is the Sunday sweater, and I think the original is like an Aran or bulky. I think it might be bulky. But I went with the Sunday sweater mohair edition, which I just go by the gauge. So whenever I see a pattern, I don't care like if it says it's written for fingering or it's written for whatever size needles. I just check the gauge and then I find something in my stash that I know I will get the gauge for. So I think the mohair edition is originally just 2 strands of mohair held together, but as I said, I'm using the whole super soft and a strand of mohair. Did not swatch for this, and my gauge was completely off. So I think I just skipped the last increase row and just kind of worked it out myself from there. But anyways, this is it. This is a Sunday sweater. I have finished the body. And just before recording, I put the sleeve on hold. Essentially, it just needs a ribbed cuff. But this is the amount of mohair I have left, which should be fine. I think it should be absolutely fine. I do have more of the whole super soft. But I didn't want to knit a ribbed cuff and then find out I don't have enough yarn, so I decided to just leave it as this for now. I have picked up for the second sleeve. I'm just gonna knit the sleeve and then I can do the cuffs because I think I should have enough yarn, so then I can maybe do a bit longer sort of ribbed cuffs again. I don't want to do like a crazy long cuff again, don't worry, but yeah, I just decided to be smart about this and not have to rip back a finished sleeve in the end. So this is where we are. I think I'm going to be living in this. I just really like this sort of garment. It's very chill. It was fun knitting the ribbing just for like a tiny bit of interest. Like it is not just stockinette, but it's also very, very, very simple. And this is the first time I think I've done a sweater with a rolled over sort of double folded neck. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I mean, it looks nice. I will report back once I've used and worn this for a bit because I feel like it doesn't feel like a lot of extra work, but then somehow it always is. So yeah, but I do like the sort of finish it gives. It does look very neat, doesn't it? So that is my Sunday sweater by Petite Knit, and that is all of my works in progress. So this is it for the knitting content. If you're only here for that, then I will probably, hopefully, if I'm lucky, see you next time. And if you do want to stick around, yeah, what do I have to talk about? I think I already mentioned I don't want to say I'm on a yarn diet because I don't like that word and I don't like the feeling of not being allowed. Like I'm grown up, I can decide if I want to buy yarn or not. But at the moment I am actually enjoying using my stash and like there's so much in there where I feel like I don't even have the time to knit it all up. And I mean, if you have kids, I'm sure you can relate. Like time just flies. Like there is never enough time to knit. So I'd like to, use the time that I have knitting rather than browsing yarns and buying new yarns that I know I won't be able to knit right away anyways. So I'm quite enjoying that process. I've set myself the goal to hopefully do this until Easter. But I have a feeling I'll probably at least do it until my birthday. I know I have asked for 2 cones of Holzgarn for my birthday, which I think is fair enough. May have already ordered them, but they're a gift. They're my birthday gift, and my birthday is in May. So if I make it until then, I think that'll be fine. Yeah, what have I been doing otherwise? I mean, toddler has been keeping me busy. I think I haven't slept since New Year's, which is ridiculous. And no, I'm not saying this to get any advice on like sleeping toddlers or sleep training or anything. Please don't give me advice. We just have to get through it. It's just been a lot of stuff going on, and yeah, but otherwise we have been well. We've been surprisingly healthy actually, because toddler usually brings home all kinds of bugs and he always gets me sick as well, but we've all been fine, which is great. Um, Besides normal life, we've been, just taking little train trips most weekends, because both my husband Kai and my toddler, they love going on trains. Um, so we have to go on trains because we don't have a car. We are carless, which I actually really like. I really like not having a car. So we take the trains to all kinds of places around where we live. We went to Cambridge yesterday, which I think Cambridge is my favorite place in the entire UK. I love Cambridge so much. It is kind of ridiculous. It's only like a 40-minute train ride from here. So we had a really fun day yesterday. It was supposed to rain all weekend, including Monday, and Monday is the first day that my husband's had off for forever, really. But we ended up getting quite lucky. We had the most beautiful sunny, if cold weather, and yeah, it was really fun. I didn't even go to the yarn store there. That's how good I am at the moment. I have been to one yarn store there before, but yeah, I haven't been doing any yarn shopping. But yeah, we're just, discovering places, and it's been pretty fun. Besides that, what else is there to write home about? I haven't done like proper sort of spring cleaning or anything like that, but I do feel a bit of an urge, so I think that's why I've been thinking about my stash. We've also recently gotten some like actual furniture for our living room, because I wanted to have our living room be more of an actual living room rather than a playroom and toy storage. So it's been quite fun, just setting up a few new shelves, and it's just tiny changes, but they make such a difference. Yeah, and otherwise we've just been busy. My son is such an outdoorsy kid, so we just spend so much time outdoors, and it's really fun. It's good for me as well, because I've been planning to take up running again, and I haven't done it, but I've just been walking crazy amounts. So that's been quite good, both health-wise and mental health-wise and all of that. And yeah, basically my life is really boring, because whenever I do get free time like today, I will just use that time to knit and watch some podcasts, watch some series, and that's pretty much all we do. We've been re-watching Lost. I do have a soft spot for Lost. I'm not sure how you feel about it. I know some people hate it. I do kind of like it. I just rewatch everything, because it is so nice to just be watching stuff you love already. So I've been rewatching Grey's Anatomy. We loved Squid Game. Oh my god, Squid Game was, it is sort of intense, but it was so good. I really enjoyed Squid Game. Hated James Bond. I can't remember what else we've been watching. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today. I feel like I'm just rambling now, so let's hope I can get this edited and the technology and everything works out. If it does, please do say hi to me in the comments. I always love hearing from you guys, and if you do want to follow me for more sort of regular scheduled updates, the best place to do so is probably on Instagram, where you can find me as The Happy Knitting Podcast. And yes, half of my stories are basically just like toddler and mom life, but there you go. I will be back here whenever it makes sense. I make no promises. I know that there are so many podcasters out there, and so many who have like such good podcasting game, and you know what? I just don't have the time. I don't have the energy. So this is what you get, but I appreciate it so much if you guys do stop by and check out this episode. I don't do show notes, but if you can use Ravelry in terms of accessibility, I do keep pretty good project pages on there. So if you have any questions, it's probably easier to check those than to comment, especially if you're watching this later on, because sometimes I do get questions on videos from like a year ago and I just don't remember. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Hopefully see you very soon. Until then, have a good time, stay healthy, and happy knitting. Bye.